Hello and welcome back to this series on Unity 2D development. My name is Tim, recording from 2025, and this is an introduction to the Unity editor. Now, I'm not going to be much help out here, so why don't we just go jump back into our project. Once you're back here, we can begin to look at the Unity editor. Here you can see your project files, the inspector, the hierarchy, and the scene view. Now, you can move these tabs around as you please. But if you ever get disorganized, you just go to Windows, Layouts, and hit Default. Now, to create our first object. An object is the lifeblood of a Unity game. Your scene actually starts out with one, that being the main camera. Everything in this square will appear in your game. Now, in order to create an object, we have to right-click in the hierarchy, go down to 2D Objects, Sprites, and hit Square. Now, we have created our very own square object. I'm going to name mine S1, but if you want to change the name, you can either change it here or right-click and rename it here. Now, I'm going to click that. I'm going to click the Move tool here, and I can move the square wherever I want in the scene. Now you notice when I'm moving it, the numbers over here are changing. This is the transform component. A component is like a pre-made behavior for an object. The transform component deciding where it is in the world. I can either type in the numbers I want here to manually move them, or I can hover over one of the letters and move it side to side. You also notice another component below that one, that being the sprite renderer. This is what makes our square appear on screen. Now, we're not going to go much into this in this video, but what I will tell you is that you can easily change the color of the square. Now, onto our tools. The first one is the View tool. This allows you to move around your scene as you please. Of course, you don't need to use it. You can just right-click and get the same effect. And of course, zoom in and out. But if you ever get lost in your scene, all you need to do is double-click one of your objects, and you'll teleport right to it. The next tool is the one we already covered, the Move tool. The tool after that is the Rotate tool, which allows you to rotate your object. After that is the Scale tool, makes things bigger. After that one is the Rect tool. Now, we don't use this for normal objects. We mainly use it for UI elements, which we will get to in another video. And then finally is the Transform tool, which combines the Move, the Rotate, and the Scale tool into one cluttered mess. However, if we have our square like this, it's really hard to get it back to normal without manually typing in all the numbers. There is a quick way to bring it back to where it started. All we have to do is go to the Transform components and click Reset. We can also do that for the sprite renderer as well. Now, we can begin to start our game. And in order to start our game, all we have to do is hit the play button. Now, with what we have right now, all we really have is a glorified photo. But there is an important fact about play mode I want to share with you. And that is, if you adjust the parameters here while you're in play mode, when we exit play mode, they'll go back to how it was before it started. This is useful for debugging. Now, having a glorified photo is cool and all, but what if we wanted our object to move? That's where our new component will come in. To add a component, all we have to do is make sure we're in our correct object, go down to the inspector over here and click Add Component. And we're going to add a component called Rigid Body 2D. Now, when we press play, something very different will happen. It falls. Now, when we exit play mode, it'll go back to where it started before. The rigid body component allows an object to dynamically move, both in terms of gravity and later, player inputs. Now, there are two more important features I want to get through before we end this video. The first one being child objects. To create a child object, all we need to do is go to our hierarchy. We're going to create our normal object. That's going to be our parent first. I'm going to choose a circle for this one. We're going to name it C1. Now, we hover over our circle, we right click, and we create another object. I'm going to create another circle. Now, we can move this circle around as we please. This one is the child. Now, we can move this one independently from the parents, but when we move the parents, they move as a unit. You'll also notice that despite this circle being in the negative position of the world, it actually says it's in the positive position. This is because our child circle is based off its parent. So its position is one above its parent, rather than one above the origin of the world. Now, when we press play, you're going to notice something a little wrong. Our square will fall right through the circles. This is because the square doesn't know that the circles exist. However, there is a component to solve that. The component we need is called the collider. So we add a new component, collider, and there are multiple different shapes. I'm going to choose the circle collider. Now, we can adjust the size of the collider and its offset by adjusting these numbers. You can also click this box and adjust it manually. But I'm just going to Control Z it back to where it was because it actually starts out perfectly aligned to the starting circle. I'm going to add it to the other circle as well. And I'm also going to add one to our square, this one being a box collider. Now, of course, you can add a circle collider to your box, though in this case it wouldn't make much sense. But let's see how it behaves now. Now we can see our square is actually affected by our circles. Exit play mode, everything returns back to normal. Now, what if we want to delete objects? All we need to do is right-click them and hit delete. Alternatively, you can click an object and just hit the delete key. And that concludes everything we're going to do in this introduction to the Unity editor. So you've learned the basics of the Unity 2D editor. Now, I can't possibly teach you everything in one video, so I encourage you to experiment and play around with it. Now, in the next video, we'll be going over coding in Unity. But for now, I'm signing off.